just says waiting for We Like Drinking to go live.
Yeah.
So
all right. Click the go live button now. 3 viewers.
That's us.
No, because we're not watching. Well, I guess because we're not watching it through YouTube, so I don't think.
hey, viewers.
Hey, welcome to the We Like Drinking.
Whoever you are.
Hello. Hey, Jeff McKinney. Hey, Jeff McKinney. I got a really bad joke dialed up for early in the show. You're gonna love it.
All right, so I'm gonna minimize that now. So this is the thing. I'm going with the full screen on the new thing, and like I never pop to the top. It's just you guys whenever you're talking. So that's interesting.
I see. I see all of us.
Yeah, I see you guys. I don't see myself when I start talking, but I think that's normal. You know,
No, I see myself when I speak, and I'm the only one speaking. Pardon me for talking while you were interrupting. Sorry.
Cool. You should update your name, fellow Jitzer.
Me?
Yeah, Jitzer.
I don't even. Where do I do that?
Oh man, fucking Jitzer.
Like the 3 buttons and check stuff there. All right. Well, we've got 13 minutes of audio recorded, so that's good.
Yeah.
So this should be fun.
Oh, hey, Kristen. Thank you for watching.
Hey, Kristen. This should be interesting. We're going with a new video platform. I'm going with a new recording software tonight. What could go wrong?
So, Kristen, let us know, since your experience is going to be different just because you're a third-party viewer. Are you seeing each of our heads take up the full screen when we start talking, or is it only for 2 of the 3 of us?
All right, so looking to.
Man, I had so many questions for.
Well, I mean, you'll get it. Well, she'll be back.
Okay, is whoever had the issue? Are they okay?
I don't. I can't speak to that at this time.
That's the more important thing than my questions. But I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm lamenting because I'm more important than anybody else.
No, that's Solomon.
Yeah. I'm so important. You can tell because I'm just so well groomed.
I was gonna say. I mean, you had somebody do your hair tonight.
Oh, come on. That's sweat,
you know what's funny?
Sweat and wind.
I'll tell you what's funny. We had the Herpetological Society potluck this past Saturday.
That is funny.
No. So someone was making a presentation, and somebody else was taking pictures of the presentation, and I was tagged in the photo from the relative to the bald spot on the back of my head. They couldn't even see my face. So Facebook recognized my bald spot.
Seems legit.
Kristen's saying that she's seeing all of our faces pop up big when we're talking.
Awesome. So. Thank you.
Nice. So we got a nice viewer experience. Just so you can see my gorgeous mane right now.
You should be in The Lion King.
Oh my God. I look like
Scar.
No. I look like Patrick Dempsey with a drinking problem.
Well, at least you don't look like Rutger Hauer. Ooh, too soon.
What? Huh? I don't even get that.
Rutger Hauer passed away today.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I know the name, but I'm sure I would know the face.
You would recognize his face if you saw it.
He was like a character actor in like action flicks. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, sort of like that. Blade Runner. He was the antagonist in Blade Runner.
Never seen Blade Runner.
What?
I can't believe you haven't seen this thing that I saw. Everybody needs to have my same worldview.
Exactly right.
Solomon, did you want to be the speaker to the sustainability over organic?
Well, so I haven't read the article. As a California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador, you can ask me some questions that I probably knew the answers to like 3 years ago.
Since it came from the California Sustainable Wine Growing Alliance, I figured that you were.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the governing board. I just hope they don't strip me of my
certification.
Yeah, they don't come into the house and rip that thing off of my fridge.
I was gonna say, well, hopefully they take the kids' artwork instead.
Well, it's sustainable. There's like 3 cross sections. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 3-legged bar stool.
Yeah.
You can have a 1-legged bar stool. You can't have a 2-legged bar stool.
I mean, a 3-legged bar stool would actually, when I took a pottery class when I was in high school, whenever you made like something that needed to like sit level and not wobble, you do it with 3 legs because it would always prop straight. Like if you do 4 legs, it better be perfect or it's going to have a wobble.
The wobble.
Yeah.
All right.
True story. While everybody else was making pipes to ingest marijuana, I was actually listening to the teacher and I was making 3-legged stools.
All right.
Did toilet paper come with that?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, and fuego.
All right, I think we're all set.
Oh man, depending which direction it came out, that could.
Or what you had for dinner the night before.
Oh my
God! Would be the only one that gets to see this episode with trial.
Probably a good thing.
All right, you guys all set?
We're all done with our bathroom humor for now.
Sure, yeah, for now.
All right. Let's do this then. Hold on, let me wipe all the beer off my laptop and wipe it on my shirt. Okay, here we go.
Typical day at the brewery.
This is Katie Wilson from LaRue Wines, and I'm here with the We Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 237 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing Cheez-Its and wine pairings, sustainability, and we are still begging you for your podcast award nominations. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking.
Drinking.
All right, listeners, welcome to the big show this week, episode 237. Before we get too far into it, we were scheduled to have a guest tonight, Remy from Vertical Detroit. She has had a family emergency and is not going to be able to join us this week. We will carry on, but we just want to make sure that we send out our thoughts and prayers to Remy and her family and hope that all comes out well, Remy. So we are thinking of you. Now, let's get into this gong show and find out who we're drinking with tonight. We've got, back from his hiatus, our prolifically wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
I just drove in from Los Angeles, and boy, are my wheels tired.
How did I know you were going to say that?
We've got...
Because there's tires on the wheels.
And they go round and round.
I wrote that when I was driving. It was a long drive.
We're just supposed to be paying attention to the road.
Is that the monster joke you had lined up for Jeff McKinney?
Yeah, I thought it was fucking great.
All right. We've got our beer brewer, John Ruyak.
Hello, everybody. All
And I am,
three of us and the one of you watching.
and I am your host. It may say one. It's really hundreds. There's hundreds watching us right now.
Oh,
I am your host, Jeff Eccles. And by now, you probably realize that you're just listening to the best podcast ever. So you should make sure you subscribe to your show. And if you are subscribed, help out the person next to you. The person to your left, grab their phone, subscribe to the show, and then give the phone back to them. They'll thank you for it. Trust me.
Yeah.
And you can do that by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe. All right. Let's find out what everybody's drinking. Let's start with you, John. What's in your shaker pint?
I've got my own concoction, 100% developed by me. The extra IPA. It's kind of a take on the double IPA I used to brew in Costa Rica. I made some changes to the grain bill mostly. But it's 7.6% ABV and 65 IBUs. Went with Columbus, Azaka, Cascade, and Citra.
How does someone define an extra IPA as opposed to a double IPA?
You know what? It's in between a single and a double, so I called it an extra.
A bonus.
There you
bonus IPA.
Why don't you just call it a 1.5?
Well, I mean, if we're going to have this kind of discussion, then I'm going to go next. So I am going with the Oscar Blues. This is the Cano Bliss. It's a hazy IPA, but it's also a mountain IPA. So I'm not sure, John, what's the difference? How can I have a hazy IPA that's also a mountain IPA?
I think the beer has an identity crisis.
This is made with Strata, Cashmere, Enigma, Hellertau Blanc, and Eureka hops.
Wow.
I guess that's what gives it the mountain IPA portion of it.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? All right, Solomon, what's in your glass?
Hey man, I am drinking a new beer with a new label from a company that's been around a while, but also they went through a few changes recently. This is from Green Flash Brewing Company. This is their Tropical DNA Hazy IPA. I don't know what kind of hops are in this. That's what's different about this Green Flash label. It doesn't tell you. That's bullshit. But
Yeah.
it's hazy, and if I finish that, I might get into this Fort Point Beer Company Resonance Blended Saison out of San Francisco. We'll
Oh.
see. Yeah.
I like the fact that we were going to have a wine guest and we all have beer.
Well, I was going to have beer until we lost the guest. And then I was like, well, I better grab myself something else. So if I get through my first can of Cano Bliss, I will go with a second can of Cano Bliss. That's my plan there, Jeff Solomon.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if Cano Bliss is a take on cannabis. I wonder if those are related.
It's quite possible, is it? Don't you
I
think?
believe when a representative of Oscar Blues was on the show, I asked him the exact same thing.
I think you did.
He said yes. That's the joke.
That's a haze of our lives. Okay. Folks, again, if you're listening to this for however long we've been recording now, you probably know by now that we're up for a podcast award for the third year in a row. We're looking for this to get the victory here. But we need to be nominated first. It's a big list this year. The people that are in the running, it is a long list. There's probably 20 plus shows up for it, and we need to get into like the top 10. So we would really appreciate if you would go out to visit podcastawards.com, get yourself signed up for an account, and put We Like Drinking into the arts category. Throw a shout out to the One Bourbon, One Shard, or One Beer podcast as well in the music category. And if you're at it, there's the People's Choice. That's the first one on the left. That's the biggest one of all. Throw We Like Drinking in there too. Save it and you're done, and we really appreciate it. Guys, Jeff, you look confused.
No, I was just saying, like, yeah, and if you're the type of person like me who reads along with the show notes while I listen to the show, we've got a handy dandy link right there as well. If you can't remember, podcastawards.com. Click the link.
Well, I guess it's at least if you can't remember, you didn't say, if you can't remember that link, stop listening to our show. I appreciate that you've stopped telling people to stop listening to our show all the time, Jeff.
No, it's when I get the text that says, hey, what was that podcastawards.com URL? That's when I tell them to quit listening to the show. You know who you are who did that one time.
Are you serious? That's
same guy who complained that his teeth weren't white.
That.
All right, before we go there, let's lighten things up and get our brains pumping with a little bit we like to call
beer, wine. No, it starts with wine. Okay, I've been driving all day. Wine, beer, or pop culture reference. This is where I am going to give our panel a term, and they have to figure out, is this a wine term, a beer term, or a pop culture reference? The term this week is San Ysidro. Is San Ysidro a wine, a beer, or a pop culture reference? John Ruyak.
So I'm trying to think how many times San Ysidro shows up on either a billboard or a highway sign driving through the Central Valley of California. So, isn't there an AVA for San Ysidro? And is that Ysidro? Is that with a Y or an I?
It's a Y.
It's a Y, yeah. So sometimes around here in New Mexico, there's a San Isidro, which is spelled with an I, and there's also San Ysidro with a Y. That's not what you're asking. But I'm thinking this is a pop culture reference relative to your travels back home today. I don't know how it's pop culture, but you make shit up all the time anyway, so what's the difference?
Okay, so John Ruyak says that this is a pop culture reference related to my drive home from sunny Southern California today to sunny Northern California today. Jeff Eccles, what say you?
I was kind of going to go the same route as John did, but I guess I'll mix it up here. I'll say this is a wine term that has to do. This is where the best garlic wine is produced in the Gilroy Valley. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, so Eccles says that this is a wine term having to do with where the best garlic wine in the quote-unquote Gilroy Valley is from. Very interesting. Okay. San Ysidro, and by the way, that's two words. S-A-N, the second word is Y-S-I-D-R-O. The San Ysidro District American Viticultural Area is located in Santa Clara County, California, part of the larger Santa Clara Valley, Jeff. AVA, located at the foothills of the Diablo Range. Yeah, it's this little chunk of Gilroy where they say premium wine comes from, but I drink a lot of wine from Gilroy, and I'm sure some premium wine grows there. I'm not sure if I've ever tried it before.
Is it where the best garlic wine comes from?
You know what? It's close to where that stand is, but I don't know.
All right, and the term is
San Ysidro. It's a wine region.
Booyah. Are you on that second beer yet, Jeff?
I need to be. I'm running on fumes right now.
All right. Well, we don't have a guest tonight. So I guess we're just going to have to go right to the CNNs of the world with. Oops. Lost it. With.
Sorry.
With. Booze News, where we discuss interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some pretty dumb things. John?
Yeah, so we had that lady tooling around in her motorized cart at Walmart, drinking wine out of a Pringles can, and we had that whole thing regarding pairing wine with Pringles. And I think there was even there was a website. Pringles has a website where you actually stack them and come up with different flavors.
Different flavors, yes.
Yeah, and that's got nothing to do with wine. But apparently people have been pairing wine with Cheez-Its for a while. So Kellogg's, who makes Cheez-Its, it got a marketing genius. They're going to be selling along with house wine. Yeah, house wine.
House wine.
And they're going to be a combo box. One side is bag-in-a-box wine. The other is Cheese favorite crackers in a box on the other half. So it's kind of like a suitcase, one end being a lot heavier than the other, obviously, because Cheez-Its weigh a shit ton.
These are heavy.
So this is this is cool. I think they'll sell a boatload of these things for about a month and a half and then fizzle.
You know what this is, and I love this. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been driving all day, so I'm coming into this whole show cold tonight.
Didn't I see you driving through San Ysidro?
I actually did drive through San Ysidro in between Casa de Fruta and Gilroy, and I have to say that this whole combo box sounds like, I don't know about you, but like when I get ready to go on a road trip, like we get bags full of snacks to have while we're on the road.
Right.
And I'm not saying that Cheez-Its haven't made the cut before, but I'll tell you what, if I can get a combo box with Cheez-Its and you said it's house brand wine, like that's some pretty decent stuff. To get that together, I think that's wonderful. Like that's perfect for like a picnic. It's perfect for like if you want to like Netflix and chill and you're not sure of like what you want to do. Like I think that's fantastic. You know what would be nice though is if Cheez-Its also came with like this little, like sometimes the guy that makes your Subway sandwich, like if they got like a little cut on their finger, they put like that little finger condom on before they make your sandwich. Like if it came with one of those, so you can then scoop the Cheez-Its out of the pockets of your cheeks and your teeth afterwards, I think that would be the only thing that's better than that.
Well, Eccles, go ahead. Sorry.
I kind of love this idea too. I'm curious, John, will there be pairings?
Well, the article doesn't mention it because there's different flavors. There's white cheddar Cheez-Its. There's your standard Cheez-Its. Don't they have like Tabasco Cheez-Its, right?
Yeah. There's all kinds of flavors. So I'm wondering if you're going to have combo box sets. If you get a box of their Sauvignon Blanc to go with their white cheddar Cheez-Its, or the Cabernet Sauvignon comes with the regular Cheez-Its, or, that would be even cool.
Gewürztraminer with the Tabasco Cheez-Its.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this is a Gewürztraminer boxed edition of house wine or not.
They might have like a rosé with a little bit of like residue sugar that I think would go great with like the
Tabasco one.
Yeah, the spicy. I didn't know it was Tabasco, but I know like the Mexican taco spice one. Like I think that'd be great.
So I mean, a couple things. I mean, the box is big enough so that when you're done, you could use it as a suitcase. So if you run out, if your Samsonite just bites the dust or your dog chews it up, keep this box to the side, and it looks like it's big enough to carry like 3 days worth of clothes. So I don't know that you get it on in the overhead bin on an airplane. But I mean, multitasking, recycling. The thing that kind of disappoints me a little bit is, well, first of all, the whole finger cut thing for scraping they need to sell that with each batch of Cheez-Its and in Smart Food. That cheese covered popcorn that's really yummy. Yeah, same deal. But how the heck did Pepperidge Farm not latch onto this years ago? Because Goldfish are better than Cheez-Its any freaking day of the week.
Your mouth. Cheez-Its are infinitely better than Goldfish.
Let me tell you something. Here's what's crazy.
Close.
I think that for me, it's like what I'm hearing now is like it's similar to when I hear people argue about Pepsi and Coke, except the difference is I go, you're both wrong. They both suck. This time I'm saying, you know what? You're both right. They're both delicious. Our friend Kristen, who is watching live now, is saying that she's found that it's not uncommon to come across Parmesan flavored Cheez-Its at a lot of wineries.
There you go.
And I've actually also been to wineries that have Goldfish out on the table when they're doing their tasting. Specifically, there's one in the Santa Clara Valley close to the San Ysidro AVA that has rainbow goldfish out in front of them. Ooh.
There you go.
But who wants a goldfish that tastes like lime?
I think the reason I like the Cheez-Its better is they're a little bit saltier.
Yes, you can see the grains of salt on it. I will say the Parmesan Goldfish are better than the Parmesan Cheez-Its for sure.
I can't speak to that.
The one, I don't know. There's something about, okay, I mean, party foul, but you can like dig into an entire box of Goldfish and walk away with a baseball size thing of Goldfish, and you can kind of eat them out of your hand or just stick your tongue in there and pick them out one at a time. You can't do that with Cheez-Its. You can't do that.
Okay.
That's a negative against.
Here's the thing though. With Cheez-Its, you stick your whole fist in the box, and as you're walking back to your car late at night, you pull it out and you've got a weapon. If you punch somebody with a handful of Cheez-Its, it's like the final scene of Kickboxer where they dip their fists in glass. True story. True story.
All right. So I think, John, I think people can order it now, can't they? I think this.
I believe they can. Wait. Well, it says sold for a limited time. I don't see where they actually haven't been released yet. It should be any day.
Okay.
Will I find it in my local finer establishment?
You ought to be able to get it at 7-Eleven.
Okay. So there you go.
Like okay, whatever. Allsups,
But
stop my Allsups for my suitcase of wine and Cheez-Its.
I guess if it goes well, can we expect to see the party size? The little 100 calorie packet of Cheez-Its next.
Oh, there you go. I mean,
the travel.
Oh yeah, the airplane style. What it is you have like the little like, what is that? It's not even 375, is it? Is that the size of the? You guys know. Yeah, 125 with like a little like plastic neck that dips into like a little ladle that's next to it that's full of Cheez-Its. Oh, that'd be perfect.
Cheez-Its on a plane really suck because they always end up in the aisle and crushed into the carpet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the back,
you know what I like to do when I'm
vehicle from the kids.
All right. So listeners, if you come across this, we would love to see a picture of it. We would love to get some reviews of it if you happen to purchase the box of house wine next to the mega pack of Cheez-Its and then just gorge yourself on the couch watching Netflix, apparently. That sounds like a fun time. So we're going to move on. Did you guys have anything else on that one?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, listeners, if you ever find that Cheez-Its or Goldfish have successfully thwarted crime, let me know as well.
Oh, but here's the other thing. I mean, I'm not of the female persuasion, obviously, that my facial hair attests to that, but this is like the perfect breakup thing, right? I mean, you see some girls sitting around just like partying on, just like getting Cheez-Its all over their fingers and getting drunk in front of some like weepy movies, right?
No, you know what this is? This is the reconciliation. You're outside of your lover's door with the box over your head. In your eyes. Is that the song?
No.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna move on. Oh, Jeff, this should be right up your alley.
Yeah.
So there's an article here coming from Thomas Pelliccia. Sorry, Thomas. So this is coming from Forbes magazine. We tend to get a lot of stuff from Forbes. Survey of wine consumers says sustainability takes precedence over organic. Now, honestly, this is something the We Like Drinking podcast has talked about for at least a couple years now, I'd say, that I think sustainability will trump all of them in the end, because it's about the growing practices, not necessarily your certifications. But this was hosted by the California Sustainable Wine Growing Alliance. Jeff Solomon, you're in tight with them, right?
Yeah, I am a California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador. That's what it says on my fridge. So
the consulting firm Wine Intelligence, there was a speaker there to this. They interviewed people from Canada, Sweden, UK, the US, about their thoughts on the different types of certifications that are out there. What they came out with was that a majority of US, I'm quoting here, majority of US survey respondents indicated that they would consider buying sustainable produced wine in the future. 74%, organic wine 70%. In Canada, 70% sustainable, 57% organic, Sweden 60-68, and the UK 63-49. Environmentally friendly and fair trade also scored the highest in the US at 74%. So I just found this pretty interesting, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. There's a lot more information in the article that you can get through at welikeDrinking.com/episodes. But do you see this being something that continues? Do you guys feel the same way, that sustainability will eventually be more important to the consumers than necessarily being organic or natural or any of the other concoctions?
You know what? I think that it should be, and I was actually surprised that the numbers are so overwhelmingly in favor of sustainability, because here's what I think about. When you talk about organic farming, when you talk about biodynamic farming, like these are all great things that have their time and place. But also what I like to think about is, like, you know, organic is a brand where you're checking these boxes, and if you've done all these things and if you've paid this third party for that certification, you get to put that label on it. And so it's good, right? But it also it makes me feel like there's this point where it's like, it seems like, okay, here's the kid that just graduated high school or that just got their master's degree, and then they don't know what the hell to do because their whole life they were just focused on doing this one thing, and then they're there and then they're just stuck, right? When it comes to sustainability, this is an ongoing process of evaluating your practices. Where are you now? What do you want to focus on? Where do you see yourself so many years down the road? And as you're evaluating along the way, and as you get to these checkpoints, what you also do is you say, okay, look, these are the things that I've done. I've made some great progress, or I've hit all these things. What do I want to focus on now? Right? So when I think about sustainability, I think about it as being this evergreen, ever-changing idea to focus on, how are we benefiting the consumer? How are we benefiting our community? How are we benefiting our environment? Right. And these are things that are always going to change. And I can't help as a biology teacher not thinking about this in relationship to evolution. The reason why species die off, it's the ones that are not continuing to change along with the conditions around them. And so I think if I were running a winery, I would want to focus on sustainability, really just because I don't ever want to be left behind. But to see that that's also translating to the consumers, I think is a wonderful thing. And I am Jeff Solomon, a certified sustainable wine growing ambassador, and I approve of everything I just said.
John.
The sustainability is a huge deal in the brewing industry for a lot of different reasons. But it affects brewing differently than wine does. Sustainability, I believe, and I could be somewhat wrong in this, for wine, starts with the agricultural and pretty much is pretty centered on the agricultural aspect of growing grapes. Are you raising it to the best ability of the terroir? Are you managing your rainfall, your water usage during the growing of the grapes in season? And
we've had a couple, and I'm sorry to interrupt, John. I want to kind of piggyback on that. We've had Mal McLennan on, who talked a lot about it from New Zealand. We've had Stu Smith on, who's talked. We've had multiple people on that have talked about this kind of stuff, and really the driving force behind sustainability, really, to me, is more leaving the earth in better condition than when they got there.
Right.
That's really what the goal is to improve the land while they're raising, farming these grapes. Or
and may I just cut in real quick as a point of clarification, because I like where you're going, but I do want to make sure, and I think this is the impression that the consumer gets as well. Certainly, the environment and the farming practices, with respect to the environment, are a huge deal, but sustainability is a multifaceted, three-dimensional idea. So it also has to deal with your local economy. It has to deal with how are you treating your neighbors. There's a lot that goes into it, but certainly when it comes to farming and being environmentally sustainable, you're right on track there. Yeah.
Okay. So back to me, John.
So when we apply that to brewing beer, the equation shifts a little bit, because barley is generally grown in areas that don't require a lot of irrigation. They're grown in the Great Plains areas where they're naturally irrigated by rain. Farmers aren't generally pulling too much groundwater to feed their gazillion acres of barley, because they're so huge. I mean, barley fields are, hundreds of acres. You don't water that. They don't have, those big arms that sweep in a semicircle and all that stuff, or you don't see sprinklers in barley fields. It's not the areas that they're grown in. Hops, on the other hand, yes, tend to be grown in somewhat more moist conditions, but again, they're generally raised or grown with natural rainfall, but with some added water. They're typically grown in well-drained soil, but where sustainability comes in the actual brewing process. So, the industry standard before sustainability became an issue was that for every gallon of beer that's finished, 5 gallons of water are used. So that could be for, cleaning, sanitation, cooling the wort from when you boil a beer, you're cooling it generally with water, at least first stage and second stage with glycol, with your refrigeration systems of that nature. So particularly in the arid West, Colorado, New Mexico, we get plenty of water really, we do. It does rain enough. It just leaves. It evaporates or it goes to different states. There's water rights down the road. Texas wants to get its water. Kansas wants to get its.
Los Angeles.
Nevada, Los Angeles, whatever. So, water usage is a big deal. So, sustainability may be that when you're running the hot board coming out of the brew kettle and going through your heat exchanger, you're cooling with water. That water gets heated from ground temperature, which it could be anywhere from 55 to 75 degrees, depending on the time of year, and it goes directly into your hot liquor tank for the next day. So you haven't wasted the water. The other thing is you've retained heat. So when I knock out the beer and the water comes out the other side of the heat exchanger, it goes in at 140 degrees. So the next day, I don't have to heat it up as much. So there's a couple of things at play here. Resource conservation, the resource itself, the water, right? And then the next day trying to heat it up with natural gas, what have you, electricity, you're not using quite as much. So the other aspect to that is closely monitored sustainability also saves producers a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if sustainability makes sense for so many different reasons, it's first of all, it's an environmental, what do we want to call it? Politeness, responsibility, what have you. But sustainability also means saving money for the producer. Some breweries actually retain CO2 from fermentation. They have these boxcar size things, which are pretty freaking expensive, by the way. So there is some initial investment for sustainability, whether it's solar panels, whether it's creating your own biofuels and creating the systems to do that, or recycling CO2 from fermentation to reuse to carbonate the beer later. I mean, those things happen as well. So that we're not releasing excess CO2 into the atmosphere just from fermentation. They're grabbing it and using it again. Now, I will say this. The CO2 we use for carbonating the beer is actually stripped from the atmosphere and produced locally. So it's, I don't know how much that costs, how much energy does it cost to separate CO2 from, wherever you're at. Seems like there's plenty of it these days, right?
And all this relates back to the sustainability versus organic discussion. How?
Well, in that brewers don't have time to worry about the organic stuff, but
okay.
it is that certification thing. And frankly, organic takes a lot of resources that isn't always the best land use relative to yields and things like that for crops and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen a beer marked organic.
Samuel Smith is pretty famous for that in England, right?
I have, and I guess the thing is bringing it back, there's going to be a day and age down the road, generations down the road, where we're going to be thinking about the label of organic in the same way that we might think about, different booze laws in different states, where it's like, here's some people that are dead and gone, and this was what they felt was best for their specific time. And people are fighting so hard for that label that they're not thinking about what is right, because most certainly you can make a great a wine using organic grapes, and you'll write it on the label, made with organic grapes, and you could be the worst polluter on the planet. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where it comes in, that sustainability is this three-dimensional living, breathing idea. And my hope is that, you know, there are different organizations in charge of organic labeling. My hope is that they are really like living and breathing with the times, because there are, and by the way, I know I talk to farmers all the time when I go wine tasting in the Santa Clara Valley or the San Ysidro AVA that farm organically but just don't have the label because maybe they didn't want to pay for it. Maybe you know, they want to be able to, in times of need, use certain pesticides, and it doesn't mean that they're doing them all the time. And so, you know, those are things that I think a lot more folks are getting wise to, and I'm just glad to see that sustainability is making a name for itself, even if there's plenty of consumers that don't know exactly what it means. Just understand that you know, it's good, and it's a growing process. Like, nobody gets to maintain their sustainable label if they're not you know, moving with the times. And right?
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, but Solomon's described it best earlier as a three-dimensional thing, and it's just a constant evolution of improving your business process to be sustainable within your own community, the resources you have locally, environmentally responsible for the planet as a whole, and saving your own business money. So it never stops, you know. Or getting an organic certification is an end and a prize in and of itself, and it can stop there. But sustainability is something where you're always going to be looking for the next thing to make it better.
Better for you, best for you, right?
Best,
you know,
best for us to your ability.
Different for everybody.
Hey, and I did just want to break this out as well. Our friend Kristen, who's watching live, her family actually has a broccoli farm in Salinas, and she's saying that her family's been farming organically for years. They've never had the organic label. They've never gotten it. So just know that just because something doesn't say organic, it doesn't mean that it's not, that they're not, you know, doing good things for the earth. I think that's important.
Yep. And Jeff, going back to the beginning of this, you know, you're spot on too. Like, I was shocked.
Of course I am. You're shocked that I'm this on top of it, even though I drove all the way from Anaheim up the 5 on the 710, the 10, the 5 again to the 152 to the 101, down First Street. I stopped at Nob Hill. I got some frozen pizza. I cooked it up. I put my kids to bed. I still made it to the show. And you're surprised that I was still spot on? Me too. Sorry.
That it was such a wide difference between sustainability and organic, especially with how long it took organic to take hold, and like how quickly sustainability became so pervasive in our collective thought consciousness. So I think that's pretty awesome. All right. Anything else on that, guys? Jeff, did you want to say anything else?
I think we've become more the people that it's important to, and a lot more people think it's important.
Yeah.
And sustainability is climate change and everything of that nature. Is sustainability is a big thing, and I think people understand it better, even with the education they got through organic.
Exactly. I think it's relatable to people a lot easier than everything else. I think it's something that you can grasp easily, and you're like, yeah, that's smart. Okay. Jeff, any final quips?
Yeah, and I would also say that
let's move on.
Last call. I deserve that.
Clean house and lock the doors. You know what we do here, folks. We're looking for a little bit of your help in the social spaces. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at We Like Drinking 1. That's the number 1. On Facebook and Instagram at We Like Drinking, or find us on The Tavern, our private Facebook group. Visit WeLikeDrinking.com/tavern to find out how to join that hot pile of awesomeness. Jeff Solomon, if the people have some opinions about the show, what's the best place they can go to tell us what they think?
If you're not watching live every Wednesday night at welikedrinking.com/show, you're probably listening to us on your favorite podcasting app. Maybe it's Apple Podcasts. While you're listening, go ahead, take a look at your phone, scroll down until you see the area where you can leave 5 whole stars for us and an amazing, honest review. Let us know what you think about this episode in particular, about the show. Give us that goodness, because the show is only going to live and breathe with 3-dimensionality if you take a sustainable part in this process.
Wow.
Mad.
Besides the fact, I mean, if you're not watching the show now, why aren't you? Don't you want to be as cool as Kristen? I mean, she's asking us questions. She's telling us about her family's broccoli farm. Why don't you want to be that cool?
Yeah,
Exactly.
What's your problem?
Speaking of iTunes reviews, we have a new one. So let's hear it with our iTunes reviews. This one just came in last week from Moby53X11, titled "Wish I Could Remember," 5 stars. Moby says, I've started the last year's episode with the intention to listen to the whole show, but I wake up most morning using my phone as a pillow. Keep up the intoxicating stories and great information. Cheers.
Is that like the emo guy, Moby?
Yeah, thanks, Moby. I really liked the song you did with Gwen Stefani.
That was a good one.
You sounded very, very gangster in that, singing about being from the East Side.
So Moby probably doesn't get to this point of very many shows, and he's already sleeping on his phone. But Moby, thank you so much for that. Email me, Jeff at welikedrinking.com, and we'll see if we can get you some fun swag for leaving us a review. John Ruyak.
Yeah.
If Moby has obviously is a subscriber, he probably is following us on the socials, has left us a review. If Moby wants to take it to another level of support for the show, how can Moby take it to the next level?
That next level is to throw us some scratch and visit the welikedrinking.com/pledge page and find out more information becoming a patron of the show. Help us keep the lights on, help us buy some beer.
And there's great things.
Real talk, Eccles. If it gets to the point where one of our electricity bills is about to go out, or somebody is running low on funds to buy beer, what does our LLC pay for first?
Beer comes first.
Okay. All right.
Actually,
just make it sure.
That's not true because then we'd lose your internet, I guess. So I guess
what? His internet sucks.
No, and then we make up some story like, oh, he had business this week. I'm sorry, we're kind of going into like the fourth wall here, guys. I didn't pay my power bill. That's why I wasn't on last week.
All right. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episode. Or you could always, we could start a GoFundMe to get Jeff's electrical bill paid for if we need to do that. But if we're talking about electrical bills, podcast reviews, and hop sustainability, it must be the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
I can't barely talk without scraping the cheese mortar from between my cheek and gums.
I love the visuals we provide our listeners in this show. Jeff Solomon.
So I'm at this hotel in Hollywood and I'm just watching people where like traffic down North Highland towards Hollywood Boulevard. It's standstill 24 hours a day. And people are honking, they're flipping each other off. And I've seen some people like, no joke, just break down and start crying while they're driving their cars. And all I have to say is, if you're ever driving your car through the mean streets of LA, if somebody honks at you, if somebody flips you off, that's a badge of honor, man. Like if you don't get that, then you're not driving right.
Did you please tell me you were running around to everybody and stop traffic, grabbing their phones, scrolling down, swiping right, and subscribing to the We Like Drinking?
I asked the valet, I'm like, you think I can make this left turn on Highland? He's like, I'd like to see you try, bro.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Where you'll never drink alone.
Boom.
That was a fucking hot mess.
Oh, that was great, man.
I love our hot mess.
That's what I needed, bro. Oh.
Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna end this thing somehow if I can figure out how to do it.
Thanks, Kristen. Hey, Kristen, real quick, you work at Kiergan Cellars, right? Or am I thinking of someone different?
I think that's right.
Let me check. I'll figure it. Good night.
I'm not answering that damn question.
All right.
Good night. No,
that's the other Kristen. The other Kristen work. Okay. All right. I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kristen.
All right. Thank you, Kristen. Good night.